your heart stops. Not slowing down, not struggling. It stops completely, totally, without warning. The monitor beside you goes flat. Doctors shout. Someone slams a crash cart into the room. And somewhere in the middle of all of that chaos, you slip away. But here's what nobody in that room can explain. You're still watching. From the ceiling, you can see your own body. You can read the serial number on the top of the defibrillator, and you feel, for the first time in your life, completely at peace. This is clinical death. And for roughly 1 in 5 cardiac arrest survivors, coming back from it changes everything. Not because of what they saw in the hospital, because of what they saw somewhere else entirely. The medical definition is precise. Clinical death is the cessation of heartbeat and breathing. The brain, starved of oxygen, begins shutting down within 4 to 6 seconds. Within 15 seconds, you lose consciousness. Within a minute, electrical activity in the cortex. The thinking, perceiving, feeling part of your brain. Flatlines. By every measurable standard, you are gone. And yet, the reports keep coming. In 2001, Dutch cardiologist Pim van Lommel published a landmark study in The Lancet. He and his team followed 344 cardiac arrest patients across 10 Dutch hospitals over 4 years. 18% of them reported some form of near-death experience during their resuscitation. Not vague feelings. Specific, structured, verifiable experiences. Patients who were flatlined. No heartbeat, no brain activity. Describing conversations that happened in the room while they were unconscious. Describing the color of the doctor's tie. Describing where a nurse left their shoes. So what exactly happens? The reports share a striking consistency across cultures, across continents, across centuries. A feeling of separation from the body. A pull toward a light. A panoramic review of your entire life. Every moment, every decision, every person you ever touched. Experienced not in sequence, but simultaneously. And then a boundary. A line you know, somehow, you cannot cross. Raymond Moody, a psychiatrist and philosopher, first cataloged these patterns in his 1975 book, Life After Life. He interviewed 150 people who had been resuscitated after clinical death or who had come close. The consistency stunned him. The tunnel, the light, the life review, the sense of returning reluctantly. He gave this phenomenon its name, the near-death experience. And then there's Pam Reynolds. In 1991, a 35-year-old singer from Atlanta underwent an operation to remove a giant basilar artery aneurysm. The procedure required her body temperature to be lowered to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Her heart was stopped. Her blood was drained from her brain. Her eyes were taped shut. Molded earphones played 100 decibel clicks into her ear canals. The standard neurological test, confirming her brainstem had gone completely silent. By any clinical measure, Pam Reynolds was dead. She later described watching the surgery from above. She described the bone saw, a tool she'd never seen before, as looking like an electric toothbrush with interchangeable blades. She described a conversation the surgical team had while her skull was open, all of it later confirmed by the surgeons in the room. No oxygen reaching the cortex, no electrical activity in the brain, and yet the experience was, by her account, more vivid than any moment in her waking life. The scientific debate has been fierce. Some researchers argue the brain produces these experiences during the fuzzy borders of unconsciousness, as it shuts down or as it restarts, a surge of activity, a hallucination generated by a dying mind grasping for meaning. In 2013, the University of Michigan team led by Jimo Borjigian recorded a surge of gamma wave activity in rats at the moment of cardiac arrest. Organized, coherent brain activity spiking just after the heart stopped. The argument: maybe the dying brain lights up in ways that feel intensely real. But then you run into the verified details. The conversations overheard, the instruments correctly identified, the locations of objects that weren't visible from anywhere near the body. Neurologist Eben Alexander spent a week in a coma in 2008, his neocortex destroyed by bacterial meningitis, the part of the brain that generates conscious experience. He reported an elaborate, structured journey. He was a Harvard-trained neurosurgeon. He knew what that diagnosis meant. He knew his brain was not supposed to be producing anything at all. Sam Parnia at New York University has spent 2 decades studying what he calls the recalled experience of death. His AWARE study, Awareness During Resuscitation, attempted to place images on shelves above resuscitation tables that could only be seen from above. Images that a floating consciousness would be able to read. The methodology was sound. The results were tantalizing but inconclusive. One patient reported an out-of-body experience during resuscitation, but wasn't in a room with a target image. Parnia continues. He believes the answer is coming. He believes we've been asking the wrong question. Not, is consciousness produced by the brain, but is the brain a receiver for something that exists independently of it? For the people who return, the philosophical question becomes almost secondary. What they come back with is harder to explain than any neuroscience: a flattening of the fear of death, an overwhelming restructuring of priorities. Materialism stops mattering. Relationships become everything. In Van Lommel's follow-up interviews, conducted 8 years after the original study, patients who'd had near-death experiences showed dramatically reduced fear of dying compared to those who'd been resuscitated without one. Some reported being able to sense the emotions of people around them in a way they couldn't before. Some reported their watches stopped working. One cardiac surgeon told Van Lommel, quietly, that several of his patients had accurately described what he was doing and saying in the operating room while they had no pulse. He hadn't published it. He was afraid of what it meant for his career. The life review portion haunts people most, not a highlight reel, not your proudest moments, every interaction. The kindnesses you barely remember offering, the small cruelties you'd convinced yourself didn't matter, played back from the perspective of the other person. You feel what they felt. One man described the moment he snapped at a store clerk in 1987. He relived it from inside her. He felt her embarrassment, her exhaustion, the way she went home that night still thinking about it. He came back unable to be careless with people anymore. The weight of that understanding never left him. What does it mean? We don't have a final answer. Science hasn't closed this. The brain may generate these experiences, or it may simply be the last instrument to detect something it was never designed to measure. What we do know is that the people who come back from the edge of it, the ones who felt the light, saw the boundary, chose to return, they stopped treating their lives like a rough draft. Maybe that's the real data. Not what they saw on the other side, but who they became because of it.